Hello, this is J9LP. Last time on Lunar Nights, we sold a bunch of stuff at the shop in Akuna. We stored a little stuff in the solar bank in Akuna. We also revisited the haunted mansion in Interior to get a bunch of extra stuff that we couldn't get the first time around. We also showed you a pretty neat trick to upgrade your shield without having to resort to quick garden all of the time, which was pretty neat. Thank you again, my Kirihime. And we also slaughtered the Margrave Rhymer and did another casket rocket stage with the place. This time with the benefit of all our Tyrannials, and we essentially pwned all of the bosses there. Although we did actually show you the difference between the harder mode of that one, because it's a little bit more tricky. So now we are ending this chapter and starting a new chapter in this Lunar Nights, the prologue to the epilogue, which is essentially what I've called it, part of the series so far. Anyway, so let's save a game. Don't use the B button after you've rushed through all the cutscenes, just to warn you of that. Anyway, we start a new chapter with this time, as of course you know, with Aaron. And again, this will be playing with just Aaron. And unfortunately, again, we can't skip through the cutscenes, especially at this bit with Aaron not being able to shoot his solo gun, despite the fact that, well, I'll show you in a minute. I'm pretty sure you can guess what it is. Because Lucian started off with all of his Tyrannials and was actually able to use them off the bat. Well, you can pretty much guess what Aaron's going to be starting off with. Yeah, I don't think I need to tell you that. Anyways, so this is going to be a bit interesting. As you know, this next thing that's coming up is a mission, which is essentially a stealth mission where he has to sneak past the guards without being seen by all the horrible monsters that are working for the vampires who have invaded old Kiliakan, or Kiliasan, I don't know how it's pronounced, but I still don't know. So anyone who wants to correct me on that, then feel free to do so. I mean, come on, that's what the comment section is there for. Anyways, so yeah, Jimmy's got to find all of them, the guild members, and get them out of there in this new sneaking stealth mission. And again, he can't go back because I just can't. Some of our comments let me it out, but you know what? Screw stealth. I got Toasty on my side. Yeah, bitch, hey doggy. Yeah. So this time is going to be a little bit easier for you, or more than a little bit easier for you all this time around. Also, we get to go back to find green chests, which contain you different things this time. Again, this is a new game plus. In this one, you will find Sound Data Demo 2, which is essentially another record. This one has actually sort of sample data in it, rather than just music. At least I think that's the case. I completely forget now, but I'll probably correct myself at some point in the usual comments I put up. But I'll let you know what that actually is. Anyway, so we've got to blast through here and get through and get all the guild members out safely again. The only other difference in this stage is that any of these things you find you can actually now shoot. They just contain pretty much the same things that you usually find. Yes, and another advantage of this is that you can now grab any of the drops that the enemies have, so that's good too. Anyways, I will see you in a bit once we've done this mission. You do know what to do. We're standing right behind you, for Pete's sakes. Just do what you gotta do, man. Put some feel into it. Tokyo jumping wild, didn't it? God. Anyways, so just like with Illusions of Jade's playthrough again, you get to choose your name again, and I'm going to call him Jimmy B. Okay, no. I'm going to keep them the same as before, just for the sake of consistency. I mean, I could perhaps use their original names, which I'll talk to you more about later on. But yeah, I'm just doing it for the sake of consistency. So sorry about that. Anyways, I'll probably talk more about why they do have different names in this game. So, as you know, the funny looking Santa with a big nose is called Toasty in this game, but in the original game, or in the original Boktai series, he was called Tenko, and he was essentially Django's mentor. So in this case, Aaron is called Django in the Japanese version, and Lucian is called Sabata in the Japanese version as well. So why all the name changes? You ask. Is it just the usual case of the West having to be different? Well, there's a bit of a couple of things about that. The original Boktai series, the games, they, in sales-wise, they didn't do fantastically. The first two games probably did well enough to be able to for Konami to be able to justify a release in the States, or in the West rather. This West doesn't roll around Europe, there's Europe as well, you know, for Pete's sakes. So yeah, Boktai and Boktai 2, Solar Boy Django, were actually released in the West. The third installment of the Boktai game, which is called Sabata's Counter-Attack, wasn't released in the West. It was only released in Japan, and that didn't do particularly well either, which is a bit of a shame really, because it's a pretty good game. Arguably you could say that the whole solar sensor thing didn't, you know, as a sort of a USP, didn't particularly sell the game well to most people. Bam, son, there you go. That's how you do it. Just like in the cutscene, eh? Anyways, that's pretty much the same thing. As I said before, a lot of other green chests sort of from the outside that contains junk parts are pretty much the same as before on the steel. So anyway, as I was saying, the Boktai series kind of died in the West, and therefore, even though the game in the West, in Japan rather, was released again as Boktai, this one being Boktai DS, as I said before, let's carry on the whole sort of gimmick of putting DS as the sort of acronyms for the subtitles. In the West it was called Lunar Nights, and there's a particular reason why. It's just essentially they tried to, in a sense, reboot the series something else, because the game didn't do too well in the West, and unfortunately it didn't help it that much, because it was, I've actually better change it to Uganda. The requirements actually have a lot more powerful there, so bam, one shot. Yeah, so it didn't particularly help it there, unfortunately, because most people saw the DS as sort of Nintendo's first foray into 3D, and because 3D thing was kind of hot there, anything 2D didn't do particularly well, unfortunately. I mean, you know, there were games like the Castlevania series which were already kind of popular. Unfortunately, this one not being as well known a property as Castlevania, even though thinking about it, things kind of similar in a sense. Yeah, it didn't do particularly well. It was well received by the press, however. It was very well reviewed, although I suppose Boktai purists didn't think much of it because there wasn't much of what made Boktai particularly unique. One would be the solo sensor, but the other one being more emphasis on stealth. But this one has a lot more combat in it, and even though I personally think the combat in this game is actually pretty damn cool, it's very well developed, especially given that you're having to change your kind of tactics between the two characters, one of them being more melee and the other one being more sort of projectile distance combat. So there's a difference there, and that sort of pretty much holds it is a unique game on its own right. And, you know, I don't think it's particularly fair that it's bagged on for not being a pure Boktai game. There are, like I said, I keep saw in them future levels apart from this one. There are a few extra elements from Boktai that do get in. It's just not as much as in the original Boktai games. Anyway, so let's just go through this mission. I'll see you in a bit to show you more kind of differences. Okay, just a word of warning. You can go through here with Alexander now, but once again, like before, you can't actually have access to the weather because you haven't really got to that bit yet. So using the glider isn't going to do much good at all. Darn. Anyway, so we do need to get to that green chest though, because that will contain something different. One thing I gotta say, as referring to the green chests in the second half of the game, is not all of them. I mean, I already saw with the materials that they're not going to be all that much different, but as soon as I get past these, yeah, and show you, the same will actually apply to green chests here. Like there, we got the armor fruit before, so it's not going to be every case that green chests will have something different. Mostly in enclosed rooms they will be different, so that's just more fun in there. No, let me finish this that mission and I'll see you in the episode. So, we were just talking about, were we? Yeah, we were just talking about differences between Lunar Nights and Boktai DS, Japanese release of this game. Couple of them. Over here. There is. Oh, cool. There's actually hidden items around this point here and over here. And can we go through this door? Apparently not, because apparently I'm just okay. I still battling down there or something. Anyways, so other differences. Not only do the main characters have the different names, some of the Terrennials have different names as well. So I already talked about Tenko having a different name. In this case, he's Dokka. Some of the elemental Terrennials have different names as well. Tovei is pretty much the only one who doesn't have that much of a different name. Alexander is actually named, I'm milking about it, fun about it. That's not his name, sorry. Alexander's name in the Japanese version is actually called Otfried. Also, Ursula's name, I think it's called something Azra, or something like that. And the interesting thing about Azra in the original version is that even though it's almost clear that Ursula is actually voiced by a voice actress here, Ursula's actually meant to be boy. Yeah. Ursula's actually male in this, so kind of stands to reason why they used a sort of female voice on the VA for that. Because as you know, I think I want that. This is what I've been heard to do, so I can use all these dropping things up and actually collect some more junk parts that actually be a handy thing. Yeah, so there you go. Ashley is a boy! And also Ezra was actually named Lisa in the original Japanese release. So, whoops! Yeah, sometimes you can't actually shoot these things down, which is a bit annoying. But at least you can see them in the daylight, so that's all the plus. Also, as you know, there's no Tayo anymore, unfortunately, for another thing. Another sort of interesting thing about the story in Lunar Nights, and actually in Boktai DS as well. The story's kind of different this time around. This is actually very much a different era, or rather, just a completely different kind of timeline from the original Boktai story. So the Django you see here isn't actually Django at all. Actually the son of Trinity, who turned up in the third installment in Sabata's counterattack on Boktai 3, and this is essentially his kind of timeline. I mean, in the one point in Boktai 3, this may be spoilers, so just block that here while I'm a threat boss with, actually I think I'll do it with a more powerful weapon. I'll Toasty and Rich. I need to get out of the way for it because I can knock you down big time. Yeah, that attack just essentially drains your energy, so we'll kind of compare that. Anyway, it shouldn't last too long, even though he's actually a bit more powerful. I'm over here, silly person. Yeah, so, whoops. There you go. Down in seconds. I wasn't really going to use the chance attack, and that would just be too unfair. So yeah, this is essentially a different timeline. This is more or less Trinity's sort of time thing where, like I said, spoilers, he sort of goes back to in the third installment of Boktai, which again was never released here, so it kind of makes sense that they completely sort of retconned everything and had pretty much no references to Boktai whatsoever, really, apart from Nero, who was kind of I think he was called Nero in the Japanese version as well, so that's pretty much the only reference you get in this version. Anyways, so Trinity as as you saw in the original story, falls against this guy, who's actually named Sartana, in this installment. Anyways, more about that. I might as well just save this game now and go to the next chapter, because there is something special about that. This is essentially leading up to the entire point of this project in this place. So I will talk you through that as we go through this cutscene in Old Culia Can. Also, something else I actually failed to mention, 13th Street, which is what that entire stage or something, that's actually a reference to a game which, funnily enough, I'm playing through at this particular moment in time, and well, you'll see what it is once I've actually got to that point in that game. So that's something kind of interesting. That's an interesting link to a game which is not too dissimilar to this one in many ways, really. One of them being kind of the sort of main antagonists of the game. Anyways, so once we've gotten through this, unfortunately, yes, I'm going to have to hold down the B button to do speeding up the text. This is really the only one I can do. Or I can just use turbo, which again I don't have, but hey, I can do the same thing in the editing program, so it's all okay. Right, so now you can see got a few more of these places available to you. Now, the entire point of all this playthrough, as I'm playing through it again, is essentially this place here. Yes, this place, the Vambery Tower, the Tower Laboratory. This was essentially what Baron Stoker was talking about, and of course, later on in the game, Professor Sheridan will be talking about who essentially freed Carmilla from there at one point when he was walking in Baron Stoker and the Tower Laboratory. So, yeah, that is essentially it. So that is pretty much the prologue to the epilogue, and we'll be starting the epilogue to this game in the Vambery Tower in the next video, folks. Look forward to it.